welcome to Liquid Lunch. Look at that. We've got Bay Street behind us today. Hilton, what do you think of that, eh? You see, how did they do that?
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Very, very.
And so we can see any protests that come up the street, and hope somebody's flying a flag down there right now. I don't know what that means, but we get all the protests here. You know what I like the best?
What's that?
The Orange Day Parade. Have you ever seen the Orange Day Parade?
I don't even know what that is.
It's the Protestant Irish.
Mm-hmm. And
they march up Bay Street and
for
celebrate orangeness.
Okay, maybe you ought to have a different color. Like all the other colors aren't claimed.
Well, I think
many of them aren't.
Well,
we could have a blue day.
Maybe that's what they're doing. Uh-oh, there's a big bucket of something going on.
Uh-oh, I better watch it. Yes. I'd like a gray day.
We get lots of those.
No. But like to really celebrate gray, because there's all this stuff about black and white.
Yeah.
With gray we get to incorporate both of them and all of it, and sort of all the other colors.
Okay, gray day. Gray day it is.
And you just add an A to. No, not quite. No, my spelling's. I was going to say just add an A and you could have a T and you have a great day. But we got up to total reformation of gray day.
Then we're away from the colors.
But actually, that's what I'm sort of up to. Reformation of gray day.
Okay. Well, I once. Now you're mentioning colors. When I was a kid, I thought that there was no limit to the colors. In other words, it wasn't circumscribed by a wheel, that there was always going to be new colors that we could explore.
And we say that we've got a limit, but perhaps in a greater truth. I know that I was looking at some new media like television products, and they're talking about 11 million colors and pixels and like all kinds of distinctions. And there's so much that we see that we're unaware of. It suggests to me that as much as we think that we know all the colors and we have a spectrum, I don't really see infrared, at least not clearly. And if I had a wider range, that would be a color.
That just goes to show you, because it's all frequency, right? And infrared to ultraviolet, we only see a very small part of the spectrum. If we had, maybe that's what these other beings in other dimensions are. They just have better, eyes that can see more frequencies. I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe without eyes, they just see. They are not limited by such equipment.
Yeah. Well,
we've got some great equipment here today, like seeing Bay Street and.
We're seeing Bay Street right out the window.
Yes.
So that's in real time, people. So if we see any protests, all kinds of stuff going on, protests. Oh well, we'll keep our eyes open.
Protest people carrying signs seem to like to be noticed.
Yeah.
Coming in, I noticed some people protesting, and they made specific, to show their sign even more so, just so that I'd look at them. And there was a bit of, like pride that, they had captured my attention for a moment.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit of aggressiveness, but, I just thought, okay, well, let me pay attention, and then they were happy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, we got a lot we could talk about, but
Yes.
we got to get busy because we got a really busy show today.
All right.
We're going to start the show off with Bob Mauro. We're talking about something called Fleet Smart. It's a new way. I don't know. We're going to find out all about it. I think it has something to do with cars. So,
Yes.
And then Mai-Yee is
Yes.
coming in.
Mai-Yee Yue, yes. She's a practitioner of Chinese medicine.
Which is weird because we had someone else in yesterday.
Yes.
Talking about Chinese medicine as well. So
I asked her to bring her needles. So she's got some special long ones, and to show you and how effective they are. And also,
I'm looking to see how big they are.
They're huge.
And the fire. What about the fire?
Oh yeah, and the fire too. Yeah, absolutely. It just sort of heals everything. So we're gonna have some real fun today. And you're wearing red, so you're perfectly ready for it.
I knew I made a mistake this morning. Also, Raymond Beauchemin is here, former senior editor of the Montreal Gazette.
Yeah.
And he's got written a book called Everything I Own, about a Quebec songwriter and all that kind of stuff. And the suffering you have to go through to be any kind of a Canadian songwriter. That's what you get. If you do something wrong in a previous life, you come back as a Canadian songwriter or filmmaker.
true for songwriters, but isn't it true for everything? Where isn't there some suffering to
that's
pursue,
right.
to
Every
achieve excellence?
Canadian has done something wrong in a past life.
Very good. So we're all here for redemption.
Yeah. Well, it's we couldn't
Canadian
have picked
redemption.
couldn't have picked a better country to do it in.
Perfect.
Andrew Owens is also coming in.
Yes.
What are we talking about with Andrew today?
Andrew has an organic economy, and that he's wanting to is launching. That's really going to enable people to present their activism, their insights in ways that are collaborative, so that we actually are the change that we wish to see in society.
Well, that's going to be interesting.
And he actually, one of the interesting things is he's developed a whole set of values based on the periodic tables of chemistry and applying that to monetary structure.
Boy, that's going to be. I hope we have enough time to get right into it with Andrew.
Yes, me too.
And Jessica Hunter will be here also, wealth building, and apparently she's quite outspoken. So we'll have to get ready for that.
Oh, okay, well, we'll prepare.
Yes, we will prepare. So let's take a quick break, and we're going to come back with Bob Mauro.
Okay.
And as Liquid Lunch gets underway on a Tuesday, we'll be right back here on thatchannel.com.
You're here.
Music sings instead of bombs from aeroplanes ovade. Where is that place? Wolves are sin, but that's how they begin. The trees we cut for guitar strings, oh wait.
Back to Liquid Lunch. I just want to say this is, we're listening to, I'm not sure how to say this, but, and you can't really see it because it's too far away, but it's Earth All Is Us is one word. And I met the fellow who did this music last week. We went and had lunch, and he gave me the CD, and I haven't heard it, but that's what we're listening to today. So I just want to let everybody know that. We've got Bob Mauro here. And Bob, we were having such a fun conversation before we came on the air. I hope we can continue.
I hope so. I hope so. Just that we were speaking about a subject that's near and dear to your heart, for sure. And I'm a passing observer. That's music and entertainment, and Hilton as well. Having you both being musicians, it's an incredible conversation.
Yeah.
Love to continue it later.
Well, okay. So let's we got to get down to business, right? Because it's about. Fleet Smarts.
Yes.
So maybe you can give us an introduction to what the concept's all about.
Be happy to try. We're a group of professionals out of X of the fleet business ourselves, and in recognition of small business, therefore Small Fleet Canada, a group that no one really pays enough attention to or helps educate or along with their business. They contribute 75% to employment in Canada, just for starters.
What, the auto industry?
No, the small business in Canada.
Small business.
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
And on average, they're probably 55 to 60% of the gross domestic product of Canada. However, most people in the automotive business want to talk about the fleets with several thousand or 1,000 vehicles.
Because one golf game and you've
Bingo,
got it
done.
made for the year, right?
Yeah, that's right. Just send in your tab and away you go. But these people deserve a lot more recognition and a lot more assistance than they're now getting. Day-to-day execution of their business, they use vehicles, by and large.
Small businesses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And 80% of the new businesses in Canada are home-based, therefore small by definition.
Yeah.
So we're here to try to help them by virtue of our knowledge and the guests that we're going to have on the show, all of whom come out of the automotive business, out of the fleet business by and large, and have a great deal of expertise that they'll share. And we're going to answer questions and answer problems, etc., for these folks across Canada.
So this is going to be the show.
It's going to be a series.
A series?
Yes.
And of people in the automotive fleet business.
Yes.
Sharing their information.
Absolutely.
Primarily geared to small business?
Exactly right, yes.
Okay.
So if you're Joe the plumber or Frank the roofer or whatever, and you've got 3 or 4 or 5 vehicles, and day to day you've got a stack of invoices on the dash, and at the end of the month you put them in a bag and take them to your accountant or your bookkeeper or what have you, we're going to help you solve that problem and also help you get a better price on all of those repairs and fuel and insurance and how to do background checks on your employees, etc. All of that. They don't know any of that necessarily. We're going to help them.
And get a better deal on your vehicles?
Positively.
On your small fleets for your small business?
Positively, yes.
And that's great.
But that's not going to be our leading, because most everyone who speaks to these people, the first message they want to impart is, "Have I got a deal for you on a vehicle?" They hear this all day long. Most of them already have vehicles, and unfortunately, a lot of them start, not unfortunately, but the fact is that most of them start off with used vehicles when they're just getting into business. So they have 2 or 3 or 4, 5 or 8-year-old vehicles. What do they do with them? How do they graduate to needing new vehicles and become a bigger small fleet and then a big fleet? So we're going to help them through that transition.
That's great. So you're going to be on the show. Are you one of the hosts of the show?
I will be.
Okay.
I will be.
So what's the show going to look like? How
well,
many people
it's going to be much. It's going to be much like you're doing here. It's going to be predominantly a talk show start, a 2-half show. The first half will be a talk show like you're doing here. Second half will be what we call site visits. In other words, we'll then go to some of the providers and illustrate the services that they have. Also some of the satisfied small business customers of various of the whole, guests that we're going to have on, and let them explain why it is they chose this company, why it is they chose this vehicle, how this vehicle best suits their business. In other words, we had one fellow, for example, who said he chose this particular vehicle because he's getting old and he likes to be able to stand up on the back of the vehicle rather than crawl in and get various pieces of material for the job. Now, isn't that, you can go through all of the cubic inch displacement and the this, that, and the other, and his reason, his rationale was, I can stand up in the vehicle. So that's the kind of thing we're going to share.
Well, see, that's the kind of thing that people don't think about
No, they
a lot,
don't. No, they
but
don't.
everybody's got their own unique special needs, and so especially if you're in business, it's so difficult
absolutely.
as a small business person, right?
Absolutely.
Small business needs all the support they can get.
Absolutely.
So if you guys are there to help, help those small businesses get the information they need to make the right choices, and
it's what it's all about. Most of them are so busy day to day doing estimates or trying to get business in and trying to get themselves the material and their techs out to the job on time and together, hopefully, and they don't worry about that major cost on the day-to-day work running of their business. That's the vehicles. They don't even know it's called a fleet in many cases, So what we're going to try to do is help them through that next stage and let them be more efficient at what it is they do for a living. That's Joe the plumber or Frank the electrician or whatever, and let somebody who's good at it handle the vehicle side, the fleet side of their business.
that's what they need.
You betcha.
Everybody does their area of expertise,
What they do
and
best.
That lets the business people do what they do best.
Couldn't agree more, Hugh. Couldn't agree
Bob,
more.
does that include insurance?
We'll have an insurance specialist on, and there's a number of aspects of that, not just purely the vehicle insurance, but also the business insurance. And I mentioned a little bit, I touched on the background checks on drivers. So if I'm Joe the plumber and I got a new contract, I need to hire another, and I'm not partial to Joe, it could be Bill the plumber, but I'm going to bring on a new technician, a new licensed plumber. I'm worried about him having that certificate to do that trade, but I don't necessarily may not realize he just ran over a granny 2 weeks ago and it's not showing up. So I got to know how to do background checks on that guy as well, because when he's in my vehicle, my business is at stake. So we're going to help him with that as well. So insurance, yes.
And business insurance, you mentioned.
Yeah,
so it goes beyond vehicles.
Absolutely.
In a sense.
Absolutely. And especially if there's a partnership involved, how do you go about that, that form? We'll have experts from every phase that we know of the vehicle and fleet business.
So how did this idea come up?
Well, it's something that's been sort of brewing in the back of my mind for a couple of years while I was gainfully employed with a company. I couldn't act on it because of the fact that I was otherwise occupied.
Yeah.
And from that point, I sort of talked to a couple of other, one other retired gentleman in the fleet business and an editor of a very, very popular and iconic fleet magazine in Canada, Canadian Automotive Fleet Magazine, and the idea started from a germ to reality, and here we are. We're talking to your partner about shooting the series right here.
That's great.
Yeah.
Any ideas when it's going to start?
If I was to take a wild guess, I'd say next Thursday.
Okay, that's a good day.
Yeah. You're a good wild guesser.
Just a stab in the dark, Hilton.
So is there a framework or sort of a checklist of agendas of outcomes you hope to achieve for viewers, and what would that framework consist of?
Well, initially what we're going to try to do is just speak to the audience, and then we're going to try to attract an audience by virtue of the various social media. And ultimately what we intend to do is have a great deal of following, a large number of followers, sorry. And when we know that we're getting questions and solving problems, that will be our ultimate goal. In terms of a framework, we're going to just keep talking until we get somebody answering back, and I think that won't be long.
Will you also have sort of a buyer's club in this?
You're ahead of the game a bit, Hilton. But have you been reading our mail? As a matter of fact, we ultimately one of our plans down the road is to do. Our plans down the road are to do a number of things. Not the least of which is perhaps to teach at some community college level and share this, because there's nobody studying this aspect of the fleet business. Everybody that's in the fleet business sort of gravitates towards the service department of the dealerships, etc. Yeah. So we're going to try to teach them this side of the business, and then ultimately become a problem solver at fleet level. If somebody says, I've got whatever 15, 16, 20 vehicles, they're all different makes, models. What do? I'm using way too much gas. I'm spending too much on this. We will go out and do what we call a fleet survey for them, and help solve their problems with that. And then getting to your point where I asked, did you read our mail? There is an anonymous buying program available now for larger fleets, government fleets, etc. I think that we're going to probably adapt that to the small fleet. And again, it would be a tremendous asset for them. A, because they can remain anonymous while they're putting a search out there for 2 new vehicles or whatever, rather than have 52 people calling them. It goes to a password protected situation. And we will, by virtue of our contacts, elicit the best pricing for them in the situation. So we'll be helpful in that regard as well. And then beyond that, goodness knows, as opportunities present themselves, we'll address them.
Great. So there is a business behind the show.
Oh yes.
Right?
Yeah, very much so.
And is it open for business now? I mean, if somebody's watching this and they want to, skip ahead to getting their fleet in order,
you know what? They're going to have to wait about a couple of days until the website's open and our emails are open. But by all means, just pay attention to fleetsmarts.ca, and it'll be up and running very, very shortly. And that will be the gateway to get them to all of the wisdom that they need.
Great. Yeah. So, well, we look forward to seeing the show coming up in a week or two or whenever. Yeah,
we'll be filming here next Thursday, to be sure.
So, Bob, what do you imagine some of the gaps might be, and the challenges or the surprises in going down this path here?
Well, the biggest gap is a gap of education. Education is always a difficult path to go down, and at times thankless and very expensive on other occasions. Yes, yes. So if I see a gap, it'll be a slight gap between what we're saying and who's listening to it. We're going to have to develop. There's no one medium that delivers the audience that we need. We have to develop our own audience. So if I can say that's a gap, that's a challenge, that's probably it. But guess what? We love challenges.
Sounds like a worthy one.
Yes, it does.
Well, it just reminds me that, people talk about the economy, whether it's good or whether it's bad or whatever, but, people are always being creative, dealing with the circumstances that they have and come up with new ideas how to help people, and that's what this sounds like it is.
It's the essence of sales and or marketing, is find a need and fill it,
Yeah.
and that's what it's all about. We think we found a need, and I think we've got the people on side with our group that have got 100 years of experience, and we're happy to share. Plus, we're going to continue to bring people on. So,
Okay,
there
well,
you
it
have
sounds good, and now we know we don't have to even leave the building
No.
when we're, ramping up our fleet.
yeah, you got it. Just have to move over a bit so I can get that chair. That's all.
Well, I can't wait, Bob. Okay, so
wonderful.
He's eager, isn't he?
we can have it Thursday after
Thursday.
I'm done with it.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, fleetsmarts.ca, Bob Mauro, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
So we're going to take another little break. Earth All Is Us, and we're going to come back with Mai-Yee right after this. Chinese medicine is our next topic. We'll be right back.
Needles and fire.
What is it wrong? This is not why a mother gave birth to be warm, muddy and on cold days while your feet are so shut. Hey there, sun count. Your fat double XL fat. Your face would make a mighty nice hat. If Mother Earth had a heart attack, bet you would have a good laugh. Humans are stomping on the life we have. Bury you, try counting plant.
Hey, welcome back to Liquid Lunch Show. We're live on Bay Street in downtown Toronto.
Yes. Where all the action
In real
is.
time, you can see the action behind us. If anything happens, let us know. There's a big bucket full of cement going back and forth. But we've got Mai-Yee Yue,
Yes,
right? Mai-Yee?
That's correct.
Should we call you May or Mai-Yee?
Either or.
Okay.
I go by both.
All right. And are you a Chinese doctor
I am.
or a doctor of Chinese medicine?
I like Doctor of Chinese Medicine, but by regulations, we most of us call ourselves traditional Chinese medicine practitioners.
Okay.
Yes, or
All right.
acupuncturists.
Okay. Now you brought a whole bunch of stuff here today, but
I
let's,
did.
why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction to Chinese medicine, because it's probably still a bit of a mystery. Most people, I think most Canadians would go or normally go to see a Chinese practitioner, although
Right.
I've been tempted.
Well, you should. It's good experience, and it will benefit you in many ways. Chinese medicine is actually well known for as a preventative medicine.
Yeah.
So the idea is that you're treating yourself, taking care of yourself before you actually develop disease or ailments. But even if you do have a disease or pain or some kind of imbalance, right? Chinese medicine can help correct that. And the whole idea is between balancing the energies in your body, which we call yin and yang. They're opposites. So when your body will give you symptoms, or signs when there is something out of balance. So for example, if you have a headache, there's something out of balance internally, and something like acupuncture can help to correct that imbalance by activating certain trigger points in your body that will help give the body a sign that, okay, we have to get in there and treat this area of imbalance. For I could talk a little bit about like for example for cosmetic purposes, people who have wrinkle lines or just want to improve their complexion. Putting needles on the face will actually increase the elastin and collagen production, which will fill out, laugh lines or, crow's feet, around the eyes, and, then overall improve the complexion, and tone of the face.
Well, you know, I just say, you know, I have the immortality rings, right? These are magnets aligned a certain way based on principles of Chinese medicine.
Oh,
so you don't need to do any of the topical stuff if you wear these. You just live forever. And
well, that sounds good. Then I'll just turn in my practice, and that's
no, you
I'll
just sell these rings.
Well, yes,
No.
I think a few needles might do you very well. And I asked Mai-Yee to bring some extra large ones just to support your.
And she brought the fire. Now I see what you're talking about with the fire, Hilton.
Absolutely, and you know you're such a dynamic being, you know, and because you have immortality, you don't have to worry about any type of mortality challenge. So you're
right.
the perfect person to demonstrate all of this on.
All right, so which part of my body do you want to set on fire today, Mai-Yee?
Well, I think the easiest probably your arm, if you want to expose the arm.
Well, you're going to set it on fire?
You prefer your left or right?
Let's do
Yes.
Okay,
If you leave your clothes on, I might set it on fire. Yes.
But
I
with
better
if you
take them
roll up
off
your
right
sleeve,
away.
Yeah. Just roll up
You're
your sleeve.
safe.
Yes.
What are you going to do? Stick a needle in my arm?
I could do that too.
Really?
Yes. Well, I was thinking your ears, but you know.
Ears? Really?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Okay. Now, first of all, what do you have in mind here? Now I'm getting nervous. I got my arm rolled up and I don't know what I'm getting myself into.
Well, for the ears, your ears are actually a microsystem of the entire body. So there's, you know, just hundreds of points on your ears that can actually help correct imbalances in the rest of your body. So, for example, you can treat, you know, headache, you know, with a point on the ear. You can treat indigestion also. But what I'm thinking is a protocol that we use for, you know, mostly for addictions, you know, either substance, behavioral, but for anxiety, depression, stress, you know, that's trouble sleeping. It's just a, you know, protocol that's commonly used, you know, worldwide because it's
overall betterment somewhere or wherever one needs
yes,
it.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
do you have to do a bit of a diagnosis first, or
Nope,
do you just stick a needle in and it's just going to help everything?
Yes. So the beauty of this because it's a protocol,
Yeah.
there's no diagnosis needed.
Okay.
It's the same 5 points on each ear for everybody, and that's why it can be so widely used.
So what do you want me to do?
So
Bring my ear over there?
If you please, or I
Really?
don't know if I can come over.
No,
Take 'em a little
I'll keep an eye on you.
Literally.
Okay.
Go you, go you.
Okay.
Yes, we have a brave soul.
Bit of encouragement there, very great.
Behind. Oh, can you get behind me?
That way I'll be able to talk to
Okay.
your mic too.
All right.
By the way,
Yes.
whatever you're doing, well, I guess I can see it on the thing.
I'm just gonna swab.
Great.
Would you like
Remember,
both
smile,
ears
you're
or
on
just one
camera.
ear?
Hey, can I ask you something while you're doing this? 'Cause
Sure.
I've heard about this. That the ear is kind of like has all parts of the body
Yeah.
represented, and I wonder about people that get like their ears pierced, or you know, and ow. Did you
Not
just
supposed
stick a
to say
needle in my
that.
ear?
There's a chair there if you wish you to
Oh, thank you.
He's good right here. There you go.
See, look how he's lighting
That
up.
looks great.
This is
see?
great. Look,
Yeah.
his complexion is improving.
There you
Relax
go.
and breathe.
There.
You
See, that's
breathe
so
into
bad.
it. There you go. Breathe,
Yeah.
relax. There you go. You're doing all right. Yes,
Okay,
all right.
well, we could do
Yeah,
the other
yeah, there you
ear
go.
to balance it
Oh, I
out.
gotta do the other ear now?
You know, it's let's get that easy. That
Yeah.
could be too
You want to
easy.
be balanced on both sides
Exactly.
here. Yes.
What's this going to
Keep
do
breathing
for
and
me?
relaxing.
Well, this will help, you know,
Deep
just
breathing,
the overall
Hugh.
balancing of your body's functions, let's say.
I see a
So-
bit more blood flow in the neck and so you know, his circulation is going.
Absolutely. He's
Good,
doing
good.
a great job here.
Yes. Yes.
One
Look
more.
at that smile. It's so
I know.
impressive.
Look at the
I-
color
I-
of the face. I
Yeah,
mean,
look, you
like,
see?
you know, where else can you get that?
Breathe, keep breathing. Yes,
There
that's the
we
one
go.
key. You have to keep
There
breathing.
you go. Now you're all set. Beautiful.
Now what?
Do you want to have a seat and I'll do the cups?
Yeah.
What? There's more?
Now the
Oh
fire.
yes,
So have a seat.
You have your arm exposed there. Your arm is waiting for something.
Uh-huh.
Oh boy.
Hey, you're doing good.
You're doing fabulous.
If you breathe in and deep through and then release, it'll start to calm down.
That's
And you'll feel the
right.
flow and the balancing of your yin and yang.
Really?
That's yes. You may feel even increase in energy, right? Better sleep tonight.
Yeah.
That would be
brain synapses are probably firing at 1,000% more right now.
Okay, so let's see. You gotta have your arm relaxed. This won't hurt. Oh, look at that. You have them attaching to you.
Well, those are the immortality rings.
Is there any danger if he was out in a lightning storm that the lightning would come and over amplify the?
It's unlikely, but
There's fire.
Don't you love it when I do these things for you?
Isn't this?
There we go.
Look at that.
There,
Oop.
one.
Well, we lost that one.
There, okay, good.
Okay, well, we
Whoa,
got one
there you
there.
go.
Oh, look, how does that feel?
Yeah.
That feels.
Doesn't hurt?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Well, the purpose of the cups, it actually helps to improve chi and we say chi and blood circulation. So it's also a way to. It's also a good way to relax, tense muscles.
Are you relaxing?
Yeah.
Very relaxed.
There you are.
You're doing great, you.
He's doing very well. And there we have it.
You're done with the
That's
fire
cup
already?
I know. It's not well, if it was his back, it'd be a bigger area.
Oh yeah,
so
you do
it'd be a little
you
different.
yes.
Yeah.
To inflame the
There you
whole
go.
thing.
It's not coming out.
It wants to stay there for a while.
Okay.
But yeah, and that's actually cupping is also very effective for bringing down fever. So whenever if you come down with a cold and you have a high fever, we do a little bit, we do a little bit of pricking. There's a point behind, the back here that will prick to bleed actually, and then put a cup and draw out that, excess heat from the body. And it's really effective actually. And traditionally, it's been used in, different countries around the world for that purpose. And then just drawing out the excess cold from the body. Commonly, it's also used for relaxing the muscles and improving energy flow and blood flow in blocked areas of the body.
So how long should I leave that?
Oh, well, usually until the section holds or, until the color changes in
I
your
don't
skin.
want to rush it or anything.
You want to get the full
Benefit
effect?
from the.
Well, I'll do a little bit
It's
of
just
a
like going
different
through all this
technique as
pain.
well. Yes.
So this is just
Keep your
drawing
mind
out,
off.
whatever is impure or in you.
Kind of like, toxic energy we
So
say.
it actually is just like a,
Energetically.
a clean out.
Yeah, it's detoxifying for sure.
So should I?
Okay. Yeah, just relax your arms. I see you have a fist.
Yeah.
This won't hurt now that you've tried it. So the flame actually never touches you, right? It's kept at a distance. So
Just transference.
So is this just what you're doing right now? This is just a tonic. Like almost anybody could have this.
Depends actually on people who bruise easily. Maybe caution about because it can,
Oh, by the way, I'm a hemophiliac.
Are you okay? Well, I'm not doing
No,
too
I'm
much
just
to.
Had
The beauty
me
of
going
Chinese
there
medicine.
for a moment.
I know it's
But
scary.
I'm sure I deserve that.
Maybe I should have done the diagnosis. But yes, we definitely always start, if you're coming in for treatment, we always start with an initial overall intake. And that will cover pretty much every organ system, right? Because Chinese medicine treats at the root of disease and illness, which is I find most effective. But, it also is a complementary medicine as well. So, you can, if you're seeing a Western medicine doctor, then you can definitely also get treatment with Chinese medicine. And I find that the both work well together. Absolutely. So, see, how's that feeling? It's like a massage.
Yeah.
Yeah, cupping is quite like a massage. And then usually I like to finish up with some massage, which we call tui na. Tui means to push, and na means pull. And just working on different pressure points and different hand techniques. So
you're very much like a personal healing aid, just working with an individual body to
definitely
help it find its better ways.
Exactly. And a lot of it also comes from you get a sense of what the person needs. Like it comes with practice. And I find sometimes people will say to me, "How do you know that that it hurts there?" Or "How do you know that's what I needed?" And sometimes it's hard to explain it because you just get that instinct, and you start to learn how to read a person.
So in reading
over
Hue,
time.
are there certain things that you would see I realize this is unfair because you haven't had real moments to to do this, but there are certain things that come to mind immediately.
Just offhand with
what you're sensing, and
just I find I sense just usually people's stress levels. Like I can tell if somebody needs that kind of calming.
We need to send you to Mexico.
Not me, I'm very calm, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
No stress over here.
Not now with the needles in there, like keeping you stressed, right?
Now we know how to get you to behave. That's it.
Yeah, so I mean, the whole idea is yes, if you find the root cause of kind of what the person's coming in for, then you can help the best with providing what they need.
Yes.
And for some people too, it's sometimes just talking to somebody that they can trust that can kind of give them some counseling. That's usually a big part of it as well. So combining different modalities, and according to what person comes in with.
Yes.
For sure.
Well, Mai-Yee, I've had the privilege of having you treat me as well. And so, Hugh, I'm not having you be a guinea pig because I did that first, and have a trust, because I found that one time when I had a massive headache and Mai-Yee was with me, I asked, is there anything you could do? And basically, 10 minutes later, all of that had reduced without taking any pills or anything. So, I just found the effectiveness, and it's like, oh, this is wonderful.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's, I thought
Yes.
you must have some experience.
Yes.
You wouldn't put me through that if you didn't have some kind of...
everything that you've experienced, in this regard, I have too, so you are in safe hands. And it's just, it's surprising, I know for me, to find that it can be so simple and immediate.
Yes.
And then the incident of, when I've had that headache, it coming back, it didn't occur.
Yeah,
and a couple of other times when you assisted, again, just the effectiveness was quite strong. Is that seems to be one of the benefits of Chinese medicine?
Yes, you can get immediate effects. Of course, it depends on what it is. I've had people, come back to me, on the same day, and after a treatment, and they tell me, I've had the best bowel movement, I've had in a long time, and it's,
I always
like a
love
few
hearing
hours.
that from people.
Well, yeah, there you go.
Yes. Thanks for releasing on my show.
Bringing in some potty talk here, but things like that, or energy as well. Even mood, mood is a big one. Somebody who's feeling very down or low, or they turn around the next day and they said, oh my gosh, I feel great, or so there is those experiences where people feel immediate results. But and again, Chinese medicine doesn't work for everything, or most times it's people don't give it long enough of a fair chance to actually allow it to work, because you do experience those immediate effects, but then there's cases where it's more chronic and it'll take quite longer time. So it all varies.
I really do want to get back to that question about the ears, though, because when I see some of these people today with the super, like, multiple piercings on their ears and stuff like that, and because I've heard that about the ear represents the whole body.
Yes.
When you see that, does that is there any do you suggest people not do that, or are there any risks that people take by doing stuff like that?
It's interesting because certain points that are pierced, they're actually on pressure points.
Yeah.
I can't say I know enough, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it depends on on the point and what if that person has like a problem in that area.
But I think people are making these decisions without any regard to what the possible impacts might be.
Right. So I would definitely look as a person, because depends on where you're going to get piercings, right? Because the ear basically is like an upside down fetus. So you have your the head, the eyes, and the ear, excuse me, the ears and mouth and tongue, all in the lobe of the ear, and then it goes around to the stomach, and then you've got the legs and the arms, and and then you have the internal organs like the kidney. The lungs are at the bottom, right, closer to the earlobe, and then you have the liver and kidney, and then the spleen and stomach, and et cetera, the heart, right? So probably they can discuss if they're very cautious about that. Discuss with like a practitioner or somebody who knows about the ear and be able to explain to them, well, this is what you might be triggering if you're piercing that part of the ear. That's what I would probably advise.
Interesting.
Is there an ideal patient or client that you like to work with, or certain areas that you really encourage people with these conditions to contact you?
That's a good question, actually. I'm actually still kind of going through that myself, trying to figure out, is there a favorite group I would like to work with, or
Yes.
what am I drawn to? Right now, I'm running more of a general practice, so
Yes.
which is kind of helping me to decide, what my focus will be. I mean, you don't have to, but it is, I guess you can have that. Choice, whether you want to focus on one thing, or if you want to just run a general practice.
But I would think that Chinese medicine may offer some hope to people that otherwise aren't really getting the help they need from Western medicine. Do you want to maybe mention some of the conditions that people might think they can't do anything about, but they might seek some relief through Chinese medicine?
The biggest or the most common one that I see is actually pain. So all types of pain, whether it's acute or chronic, Chinese medicine is really, really effective to treat. So I see different things like sports injuries, or from accidents, or just chronic injuries, or acute things, acute pain, whether it's even an earache, you'll get relief, or toothache, headache, that kind of thing, or to more serious things like frozen shoulder or tennis elbow, carpal tunnel. So pretty much all types of pain, acute or chronic, very effective for. Also digestive problems. So you hear a lot of people with digestion issues, IBS, acid reflux, GERD. Just kind of thinking what things come to me, but those are very common.
How about something like, say, diabetes or?
Things like diabetes, acupuncture will help in conjunction with like herbal medicine and dietary, advice. High blood
Heart
pressure,
disease, arthritis.
Arthritis. Yes, that falls I find that falls under pain, right?
Yeah.
So
Broken bones.
broken bones, there is treatment for.
Just speeding up the healing process, or surgeries, even if they.
Yep, absolutely, for speeding up healing process for sure.
So it's not really competitive to Western medicine. It's
not at
complementary.
all. Exactly. Yeah, very much. Yeah, very much. I mean, I am. Although I am an alternative, medicine practitioner, I don't discourage people to, work with Western medicine, but just kind of guiding them in what they need. Like, for example, Western medicine is perfect for emergency cases. There's probably not as much as we can do for somebody who's let's say had a gunshot wound or something. I mean, we have what we can do as first aid, but Western medicine is probably best
I think
for
the
that.
distinction is, like Western medicine is good for trauma.
Yeah, exactly.
And accidents and surgery and
That's
stuff
right.
like that,
Brilliant, yeah.
mechanical stuff,
Oh,
right?
absolutely, yeah.
Whereas but is not so good at treating, always dealing with the illness once it's developed. Whereas I think with Chinese medicine,
Yes.
you're preventing those things from happening.
Yeah, that's right.
Now all we got to do is, convince our medical systems like OHIP to realize that it's cheaper to prevent something than it is to try and cure it.
Oh yeah. That's out there, and we're doing our best to kind of to let people know about the savings and the effectiveness.
Now, do you get involved with the herbal side of things as well?
Yes, I do actually. I've actually been trained in Chinese herbal medicine and also Western herbal medicine.
Yeah.
So just give people an option, which way they want to go. you know, I mean, herbal medicine, you know, is extremely effective, you know, if it's, you know, used properly and distributed properly.
No, I've heard stories that some of the herbs that are used in herbal medicine are being made not available through government policy and that sort of thing. Have you found that at all?
Yeah, definitely. In most cases, it's, you know, somebody will come out with a product and they'll you know, slip in a you know, a Chinese herb, and then you know, they whoever it is, like the FTC or something, will make it a, you know, like a big deal that, okay, they're using this herb, but whereas this same herb has been used, you know, for thousands of years and safe and effectively, right? So it's more of, I think, more that you know, pharmaceutical companies, or, you know, they find that we're kind of a threat to them, you know, whereas, you know, we're quite small still, but trying to educate people that there is that alternative. So it's a shame that that does happen, but, you know, as far as you know, what we use commonly, it hasn't been too much of an issue as yet, anyways. But it is, yes, we do have that where we have that kind of battle, you know, that we have to overcome. So hopefully, you know, with the experiences of more and more of us, you know, people who are using it, then, you know, we can overcome the, you know, those obstacles. Yeah. So we're very much about, you know, trying to educate people about what, you know, Chinese medicine can provide, or how it can help, you know, as a complement.
So does one typically go for, or ideally go for, an annual Chinese medicine checkup, or what's the protocol there? And, you know, one of the things that, you know, people are afraid of, one of the big diseases are the C disease, you know, cancer, you know, and avoiding that. And so what is the take and approach in Chinese medicine, both in, you know, wherever you are, and how do we manage our health once we start?
Yeah, definitely. You know, people will advise people to come in, you know, on a, you know, regular basis, or you know, we don't say really the annual checkup, but you know, because it's very safe, and, you know, you can be even pretty healthy to get a treatment, and it won't, you know, it won't you know, set you back or anything. It'll actually help improve, you know, your prevention, right? So it all depends on the person's health goals. You know, what are where do they want themselves to be in terms of health? You know, if they want to be in optimal health, then we'll you know, recommend them to come like a certain amount of time, right?
Is that like once a week, once a month, once a quarter?
Yeah. So that again depends on what the person's coming in for. So for example, if someone is coming in for pain, then we'll actually have them come in more frequently at the beginning, you know, depending also on how severe the pain is. If it's something really excruciating, it can be 2-3 times in the week for 2-3 weeks, right, until the pain starts to ease off. And then from there on, we'll just kind of wean off on the treatments to maybe once a week, and then once a month, or, you know, once every other month kind of thing. And then, you know, after that, you know, it depends on, you know, what else they want to do to prevent, you know, pain, or prevent other things from occurring. So it varies, you know, from person to person, and what their health goals are.
You know, it's people as they get older, often they suffer through different things.
Oh, yes.
And they'll say, "Oh, that's just me getting older," right?
Yes, definitely.
I mean, I have that problem with my knees a little bit, in that, you know, when I'm riding my bike. Sometimes I can't give it 110% like I used to, just because there's a little bit of pain in the knees. Is that kind of thing something that Chinese medicine can deal with?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Because it'll help also prevent it from getting worse, right? You're treating the area, you know, which gives your body the signals, okay, there's something that's happening here that we need to address. So definitely, I have people that come in every week to see me. You know, they don't necessarily have anything even specific, but because they're, you know, whether it's their job, if they're constantly straining parts of their body, you know, it's a good idea to just, you know, get, you know, even a massage, or you know, some, you know, cupping, or something to help with the muscles and just improving the circulation in the body, like energetically and blood circulation. So yeah, again, it depends on what you're looking at as
Yeah.
what your health goals are.
So I guess the first thing would be to come and just do a, what do you call that, an intake?
intake,
and
yeah.
you just kind of assess the person and see what they might need, and then suggest how often they might need to come back
Yeah,
to deal
yeah.
with whatever they need to
Exactly.
deal with, right?
Yep, that's right.
And you're in the Bloor and Kiel area?
Yes, so I'm in
How does-
the West End.
How does someone reach you? And
Yeah.
Well, I guess the easiest is by my cell number, which I can give it to you. It's
Please.
647
mm-hmm.
289
289
9565.
9565.
Yes.
And do you have a website?
I do, but it's not 100%
Right.
completed right now. So
Under construction. What's the name of
Under
it?
construction. It's Traditional Medicine by Mai-Yee.
Traditional Medicine by Mai-Yee.
Yes.
Is there a dash in that?
No.
MAIYEE.
Yes.
.com.
Right.
Great. Okay, Mai-Yee, thank you for this. And I don't know how long I have to leave these things in, but I yawned and something happened, so
Oh.
I think I better have a post-interview checkup.
That's right.
I think you
Follow
look
up.
great.
Anyway.
I
think
it's
it-
very creative.
I think, yeah, it looks like a good
And you were talking
decorative
about
piece.
orange, and they're orange today. You know, an orange day, so you got orange noodles. Yes, yes.
Oh, there you go. You got what you wanted.
Well, thanks for doing this. This is
Oh,
awesome.
it's my pleasure.
And
It was a
I
lot
look
of fun.
forward to finding out what my day later today and tomorrow is going to be like, and
Good.
you know, how this is affecting me positively. So thanks for coming in
Great.
today.
I would love to hear.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's take a little break. We'll have the Earth All Is Us music again, and then we're going to come back with Raymond Beauchemin with his book Everything I Own. So we'll be right back here on Liquid Lunch, thatchannel.com.
Perfect. I'm noticing on.
Welcome back to Liquid Lunch, and we're here with Raymond Beauchemin, former senior editor of the Montreal Gazette, and he's written a book called Everything I Own. Right, Ray? It's about a Quebec. Well, we'll get into it. Should we watch the trailer first?
Yeah, I think that would be a good way to. That's a good jumping off point.
And it's really cool how now the books these days all have trailers. Not just movies have trailers, but books have trailers.
Books have trailers.
Which is really cool. So let's watch this, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss the book.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Ray, that looks very intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, a lot of people don't. They look at it and say, "What the heck is this about?" But I think if you look closely, there are hints of some of the subject material.
okay, so yeah,
So it's a. It takes place. A lot of the action takes place in flashback, back to the rise of the PQ and separatist movement in Quebec, and you see people waving the fleur-de-lis flag.
Yes.
which is just the Quebec provincial flag for now.
That's right.
And hopefully will remain, at least, you know, for those of us who love Canada.
Yes.
We want to keep Quebec here. But now, the book kind of reflects your own story a little bit. And do you want to just kind of maybe
Sure.
tell your story and how that relates to the book?
The protagonist is born in Massachusetts of Quebec-born, immigrants to the United States.
So your parents were from Quebec?
And my parents were from Quebec.
Okay.
So there is that tie. What the protagonist of the novel does that I didn't do is actually move back as a child. The protagonist's parents have a job opportunity. They move back to Quebec. And so he's like 7 or 8 years old when he moves back.
So it must be a novel. Imagine a job opportunity in Quebec.
Well, there were some. And what drove my parents to the United States to begin with was obviously economics. There weren't jobs. My father was the second-born son in the family. There wasn't any work for him on the farm, so he moved to Massachusetts. When I was probably around 8 or 9, so around the same time that the protagonist, Michel, moves back, my father did have an opportunity, and he didn't take it. So we stayed in Massachusetts. So this is kind of my what if.
It's like an alternative.
Yeah, an alternative reality.
History.
What would have happened had
Yeah.
I moved? And so Michel Laflamme is very much a little separatist.
Ah.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, because he. Now, were you a separatist?
Well,
wait. How old were you when you moved back to Quebec?
28.
Okay, and
That was 1990. So we'd already been through the referendum and the elections and all that stuff. So I wasn't.
You were.
I wasn't a separatist.
Okay.
No. That's
now-
why it's really a what if.
And I just want to be clear. Were you born in?
I was born in the States.
In the States. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it, because it sounds like beyond being a story about a musician, about Montreal, about Quebec, it seems to be also looking at the historical backdrop of Quebec separatism and
Yeah, as a youth, Michel gets involved in in the music scene. He really digs, if you were a 1970 word, a Quebec folk rock group based on Beau Dommage, and falls in love basically with their music and with the politics. Gets really involved in the separatist ideas that way. And as he grows up and becomes involved with the musicians and in the music, the culture, he gets more involved in the politics. So his growing up parallels the ups and downs of Quebec political history, from the 1970s straight through to the last referendum in 1995.
Now, do you think if you would have moved back at a younger age? Now, first of all, were your parents, they were Francophones?
Yes.
From where? What?
From
where?
Drummondville, which is on the
southeast.
It's kind of it's on the South Shore.
You see it a bit from
Monterey,
20, right?
Yes, it's off the 20.
Yeah. Do you think you may have, if you guys moved back earlier, you might have
it's possible. I did ask my grandparents and my uncles and aunts, where they fell politically, because they had all remained in Quebec, in Drummondville area, and some of them are in Montreal now, and they were Federalists. So, yeah, I suppose the rebel in me might have ended up becoming a separatist, but that, I think, as Michel does in the book, there's many people who started off as separatists and then just got disillusioned with the PQ.
Well,
it just wasn't working for them.
Well, it's easy to. I mean, sometimes I think if I were born in Quebec, maybe not even as a French Canadian, I might have been a separatist just for the fun of it.
Well, there are plenty of Anglos who were. There is a romantic notion of.
Yes.
But
then what? Where are you now? And is that why you wrote the book, or?
No, I wrote I wrote the book as definitely a what if, and I'm not politically a separatist at all. Definitely a Federalist, but it's an appropriation of voice, I guess. And just wanted to see what it was like to live in that mental space for a while, and in that emotional space as well.
So can you share some of the highlights of what that was?
What do you mean?
For you, living in that space. So what if?
Living in.
Take us through your book a little, a few of the highlights and lowlights.
The lowlights in here are not just politically; they're political. They're personal as well. And because all politics is personal in a way, yes. So even though Michel sees himself as a separatist, his family is definitely not, and his father is diehard Federalist, and there's a lot of combating, a lot of fighting between the father and the son.
Do they learn anything?
The son eventually does. I think the father. Yeah, he does.
So what does the son learn?
The son learns that, I have a quote at the beginning of the book, the epigraph. It's in French. It's by Gilles Courtemanche. Je n'ai pas aimé mon père, mais j'ai eu un père. Et j'en suis heureux. So, I didn't like my dad, I didn't love my dad, but I had a father. And for that I am happy. And I think that's eventually...
That was the quote, that was the translation, yes.
That's eventually what Michel comes to understand. And, there is that...
A noble truth.
Yeah, it is. And in a way, you can look at the book very, that metaphorical level as well, that if Michel is Quebec, the father is Canada, and there's a little bit of antagonism sometimes, I guess.
I think it's interesting to talk about it because... I think sometimes we're maybe one referendum away from losing the country. And I'm just curious, with your background and having written this book and having worked at the Montreal Gazette, what's your sense of it? Are there still or really two solitudes? Or is there, is Quebec separatism just waiting to rise again at some unfortunate provocation?
Many things have changed since 1995. Many things have changed even in the last year, for crying out loud. You know, with the NDP coming into such prominence in the country and obviously in Quebec, that I think that Quebecers would have a hard time justifying that right now. Justifying leaving. You know, if there's a threat to separatism, it might not come from Quebec necessarily. There are plenty of Westerners who have a hard time with what's going on in Ottawa.
Oh,
we won't go there.
So on the cover of your book, you have a bridge.
Yes, it's the Jacques Cartier Bridge.
Right.
It plays many key things in the book. In fact, the real live action, as I said, most of the book is told in flashback.
Yes.
The real time storyline takes place on the bridge. The protagonist Michel is driving. He's got an errand to do. He gets stuck on the bridge for 3 hours while the police are trying to talk down a potential suicide. There were several in 2005. There were several incidents of Fathers for Justice going up there and doing their thing, and there are I don't know, maybe 24 suicides off of that bridge a year. So so the original title of the book was Incident on the Jacques Cartier Bridge, mostly because a lot of what happens in the book takes place on the bridge, but also in the protagonist's mind. But everybody thought it was a mystery, so I changed the title. And now I think it's a little bit more reflective of what's going on in the book. And also it's Everything I Own. If you remember back in the 70s, there was a song by a group called Bread that was... Everybody thought it was a love song to a girl, but it turns out that it's actually the songwriter singing to his father. And it's kind of what goes on here too.
Wow. Well, that's now. Is this your first novel, or
my first novel?
And what are your plans with it? I mean, it must be. I don't know what it's like. I mean, there's just this is the new culture. Everyone's publishing. Everyone's getting their book done and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of self-publishing going on. I didn't want to go that route, so that's why maybe this is only my first novel, even though it's the fourth one I've written.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't going to go that self-publishing. Some people have found success that way. I just didn't want to. An author, I suppose, has to have a healthy ego, but I just didn't have a healthy enough ego to go that route.
Yeah. Well, this one's with Guernica?
Guernica Editions in Toronto.
Yeah. And now, are you doing a launch or anything?
Yeah, we're having a launch on November 27th. It's all of Guernica's fall titles, and so I'll be there among there'll be 6 authors. And that is November 27th at Supermarket on Augusta Avenue, 268, I think, Augusta Avenue.
Just south of College,
yeah,
on the west side. Great place to have a book launch.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
I've
looking
been
forward to it.
To a book
Should
launch
be a good
there before and had a great time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sounds like a fun thing to do. What day of the week is that?
It is a Sunday, and it goes from 3:30 to 6.
Oh, so people can stay
absolutely
for the open jam that night.
Yes,
Maybe Anthony will even play that night.
Maybe so.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Sounds like it'll be a party.
Yeah. And no, are you working on another one? Or are you
absolutely. I finished this actually. I moved to Abu Dhabi about in January of 2008, and this was done before then. So it took me a while to find a publisher.
Yeah.
But the whole time that I was in Abu Dhabi, I was writing another.
Yeah.
So, inshallah, that one will come out too.
Great. Well, we'd love to have you back when that one does come out, and we can do this again. And we look forward to the book launch on November 27th at the Supermarket. And if people want to get their hands on the book, what's the best way for them to do that?
It's now available online, and so you can go to Amazon or Indigo Chapters or in your favorite bookstore. Even GuernicaEditions.com you can find it there as well.
And I suppose they'll be available on the 27th?
Yes.
and people could probably get I'm just suggesting, Ray, but maybe an autographed copy if they show up.
Absolutely, I'll be there signing books.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thanks for doing this today.
Thank you very much.
And,
it was nice being
best
here.
of luck with the book and
Thank
with
you,
the book
Hilton.
launch, and we look forward to chatting about your new one when it comes out as well.
Great. Thanks.
Okay.
Maybe it'll even be a movie.
We'll start with a book trailer.
Okay, so let's take a little break. We're going to come back with Andrew Owens and carry on with Liquid Lunch here on a Tuesday. We'll be right back.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Liquid, yes.
With a lemon twist, the core became warm. She started a storm. Mountains turned volcanoes, a temperature not norm. Winds connected land and sky. The clouds were carrying water for this reason why. Rain poured down for many long years. Nature celebrated these happy rain tears. Creatures realized in peace they could live. They all found in life an eternal gift. New trees grew around the world in days. Grass was so lush with healthy sun rays. Plants from the flowers made insects dance. Earth sought a life of new balance. Earth is living too, it is true. Remember she is breathing just like you. Sun shines down so we know the while. Start your day with a song and a solar smile.
It's time to understand the plan. Music of a global band, a wounded habitat. It seems that we can't live in peace without the birds and bees and seas and trees and fish and crocodiles. Solar smiles, penguin child sings walrus tunes, whales swoon, dolphins rhyme a note or two. The grass is green, clouds in tune. Where is nature that we knew? Monkeys and elephants, all the creatures that were sent to help revive a future dent. Send the news, sing happy tunes. We will change the world for you. Future new, no cartoon, or maybe we're all out of tune. Join the happy hippies, rhyming tunes of love and peace. A symphony for all species. Sound believing monkeys are innocent, a circus, not for elephants. The human zoo. Who is who? What is it that we can do to change the mood? Sing happy tunes, yellow, dark, brown, green, and blue. Nature new, a future true.
Welcome back to Liquid Lunch, and we're here with Andrew Owens, who was on the show. I don't know if this show, but here at the station a few years ago. And Andrew, I just ran into you again. Thanks to hanging out with this guy, and great to have you on the show today. Really
Thank
looking
you.
forward to this conversation about something called a social creator network.
Yeah, Social Creator Network was started about 3 years ago. It's people that want to redesign society. And we're going to start a community-led multinational corporation. I think that this is the only way to go in response to what's happening in the world, where there aren't many social institutions. There's a lot of economic institutions like the World Bank and the IMF and OECD. So it's time for neighborhoods to kind of step up to the plate and incorporate.
Yes.
We need to introduce the People's Assembly. When the United Nations was set up around 1945, the founders gave themselves the mission of starting a General Assembly for nations and a People's Assembly for regular folk. Well, guess what? They've never done the People's Assembly. Just think of the kind of world we'd be living in today if we had people looking out for the little guy. So one of the outcomes of this starting a multinational would be to introduce a powerful new institution, a People's Assembly, using the internet. So representatives from different neighborhoods would be sitting on the People's Assembly.
Yeah, we got to bring it down to the neighborhood level. I agree with you 100%. Because that's where people live, really live. And people are really getting tired of, what do they call it, Facebook fatigue or social networking fatigue. They need to be more tactile.
FaceTime.
Yeah.
Touchy-feely.
Yeah.
Even with that, though, Andrew, there's a reasonable probability that there's at least 1 billion little neighborhoods or communities on the planet.
Right.
So how do you organize and orchestrate the assembly of that in some cohesive and buildable and scalable fashion?
The
sorry to but yeah, let's get down to brass tacks.
We grow it organically.
All right. I'm not skilled at organically growing or managing that, but from previous conversations, I remember that you had taken the periodic table and chemistry and had shown me a model of that. Can you maybe talk to us about that and if that's what you're using now or if that's evolved?
That's going to change because when it comes to organizing internationally, if you get a piece of software written that allows for a neighborhood to bring in its own form of governance, and I'm proposing the native form of governance for this area, Southern Ontario, Michigan State, and New York State have something called Six Nations, or the Haudenosaunee, the Longhouse people, and they have this amazing, exemplary form of governance that has been tried and tested for hundreds of years. It's called the Great Law of Peace. And everything starts with the Wise Women's Circle. So when we organize by neighborhood, we need to have a group of wise women who select youth and seniors and entrepreneurs that are well suited for leadership positions in the neighborhood.
Are they self-selecting in terms of the wise women or community selected?
Initially, it'll be the women will be self-selecting, and then there'll be a voting system online where we can ensure that we've got the best people on the Wise Women Committee. I think this lends itself to facilitators, coaches, people that are used to bringing people together and making things work well. So once we have, I'm working with a group in Southeast Parkdale to work on a stretch of King Street. I'm sort of an advisor because I don't live in that area, and they want to uplift the neighborhood. And I'm working with a group at Young and Wellesley,
Yes.
around 6 St. Joseph Street. And we want to start a creativity district
Yes.
where there's new forms of teaching in condominium buildings. There's lots of things that aren't being taught that we need to be aware of.
Yes.
And basically it's about empowering people with creative ideas. Right now, a lot of us are being sort of pushed, marginalized to the edges of society because the way that we're running society currently is through project management. It's an extremely linear way of thinking. It's being used by government and by business. And artists know how to, or creative people know how to kind of just jump in to the flows within life and to work with life.
Yes.
As opposed to setting course on something that might take 5 years to put in place, and maybe by the time you've set it up, it's no longer relevant.
Yeah, that's interesting. I went to buy this book last night, and it was called I forget the author's name, but the book was called "Unplugging the Patriarchy," and I have to get it. They don't have it at. It's an American book, so it's hard to get here, but I really am interested in so what's the if you stop doing project management, and when you talk about a linear way of getting stuff done, that's patriarchal.
Yeah. What's the alternative?
Right? What does that alternative way of getting stuff done look like really? Is there any methodology to it, or how does it work?
Yes, project management is linear, and it's based on a philosophy called process philosophy. I studied process philosophy for 2 years in Berkeley, California, and I saw its limits. At the same time as I was studying process philosophy,
What were its limits that you identified most specifically?
Pardon?
What were its limits that you identified most specifically?
What words?
Limits. You said the linear.
It's very limited.
Okay.
It uses the left brain.
All right.
We have more than one side to the brain. We have the right brain. So the feminine equivalent to process is flow, F-L-O-W. In Eastern spirituality, it's called the Shakti, or Yin in Taoism. So what happens if you bring the yin and the yang together? That's called whole brain thinking or functioning. So the limit of process philosophy and project management is that it's too linear and it excludes life. People make decisions in boardrooms and they want to keep things simple. Unfortunately, life is complex. So we need these wise women's circles that can not only look at the development of things or projects, but look at the interrelationship between projects. What's called coordination. So we need to animate communities, to bring life into communities, to wake the world up. Right now, the world is in Sleepy Hollow land. We're frightened of talking about things that are important, things that we're passionate about. There's a feeling like we're being oppressed, and I think the Occupy movement is a testament to that.
Yes.
So what would life be like if we were actually encouraged to be creative, to talk about important issues?
Such as?
How do we deal with oppression?
Okay.
How do we deal with people that can only think linearly? How can we bring people that we trust into our neighborhoods to animate our neighborhoods and work with life and make life blossom, make things exciting? Bureaucrats don't like excitement and they don't really understand fun. We need a way of embracing life and allowing life to flourish on the planet. we need to go beyond national borders. So that's why I'm suggesting that the real answer is to set up a community-led multinational. All the activists that I meet feel like they're not sure about how to go about things because they're running out of energy, running out of money, and there's always this sense that somebody's looking over their shoulder and doesn't agree with what they're doing. What if activism was made sustainable? What if activists got together and formed a multinational? It's very hard to sue a multinational. The International Game Board, if you like, has been set up to ensure that multinationals win. In the 1990s, governments basically committed treason by making sure that multinationals were more important and more powerful than national governments. Ethel Corporation sued the Canadian government for $13 million of taxpayers' money for the right to manufacture a gasoline additive full of heavy metals. And they won. The Canadian government changed the environmental laws to allow Ethel Corporation of the US to peddle their wares in Canada, whereas our environmental laws forbid it at that time. So what if activists get together, they're represented by agents that exist, people that exist in our neighborhoods, like community elders, and we sell services to companies and organizations that are supportive of, say, the Occupy movement, then members of the 99%, if you like. We can provide part-time income for activists. They can go about their important work, which is to evolve our society and bring about a more compassionate environment on the planet.
Yes.
And it's very doable. Now that the internet is here, and we have loads of software that is just ready to empower communities, we can do it. We can organize neighborhood by neighborhood and let it grow organically. You don't mandate anything. No. You just let people jump on board as they see fit. So we're going to have a meeting November the 23rd at 7 o'clock at the Italian Cultural Community Center. It's called the Columbus Center.
Yes.
It's 2 buildings west of the corner of Lawrence West and Dufferin.
Yes. So
we'll be talking about setting up neighborhood creativity districts.
Yes.
Creativity districts is what a neighborhood looks like when it's responding to opportunities that are presented to common folk.
So November 23rd, and what day of the week is that?
That's a Wednesday.
Wednesday night at the Columbus Center.
Yeah, 901 Lawrence Avenue West.
Yeah, it's that red brick building, the big red brick place.
We're going to meet in the library, and they have wonderful things about Leonardo da Vinci in the library, so it'll be a very inspiring environment. It's going to be free, there's free parking, and we're going to have food, refreshments, and coffee.
What time should people show up?
So 7 o'clock is the kickoff. 7
p.m. And in the meantime, if people want to find out more, you've got that blogspot site. Can people go there?
Yes, socialcreator.blogspot.com is the blog for the Social Creator Network.
Okay, great. Andrew, we'd love to, we could get into this so deep, and you got a bunch of charts and stuff like that, but we're going to have to get you back and get into this in a little bit more detail, because I love talking about this kind of stuff.
I have to ask you one question here, though. You have this statue, I think that's Kuan Yin?
Yeah, this is a Chinese goddess.
Yes.
And what we're going to do is embody the divine feminine, if you like, into this multinational corporation.
Yes.
How do you do that? You you organize according to principles that I would call feminine.
All right.
Caring, compassion, kindness, honesty, an alignment with something bigger than us.
Fabulous.
And because it's women and elders, do men have a place here?
Oh, totally. The Wise Women's Circle is how it gets started.
Yes.
But we choose youth and elders and entrepreneurs of all genders.
Okay.
And we start rocking.
So everyone's included.
This city is going to be based on rock and roll by the time we finish. Mel Lastman knew that if Toronto was to become world class, we have to support artists.
Yes.
He put on dinners and fundraisers because he kept on saying artists need to get organized. So guess what? Mel Lastman's come and gone in terms of being mayor, but the artists are finally getting organized.
Will Mel Lastman be out at this event?
I don't think so.
I'll have to see.
I don't think so.
Looking forward. Thanks so much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Andrew. Okay, so let's take a quick break, and boy, jam-packed show. We're coming back with Jessica Hunter right after this as Liquid Lunch hits the home stretch.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Right back.
People of the sun, don't you know that we are one? People of the sun, understand that we are one. We are one. Oh, we are one. We are one. When times are hard and naked, and the world seems so cold, just look inside yourself. See the new world unfold.
we're back here on Liquid Lunch, hitting the home stretch. By the way, people, stay tuned because Wendy Ladd is here. Fabulous, fit, and fantastic coming up. As soon as we get finished here, but we're not finished yet because we've got Jessica Hunter here. And Jessica, you are the opposite of Andrew, our last guest, because you're here to tell everybody how they can get fabulously rich, right?
Using the Rothschild and the Rockefeller model.
Now, I thought those were the bad guys because I just saw that Thrive movie, and they're the bad guys.
Who says they're the bad guys?
The guy
who makes that up?
Well,
They have the money, they have the power, they run your life.
I know.
Do you want to run your own life?
Yeah, I would like to.
So when you like to get a little bit of knowledge,
Okay.
a little bit of the Rothschild knowledge, and use it to your advantage.
Can you imagine if you were like the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers and you wanted to do all the things that Andrew wants to do? You'd be able to do it like,
They wouldn't want to do that.
why not? Don't they want to help their fellow man? Jessica?
Which fellow man? We all have our own fellow men.
Oh,
we
I
all
see.
fall into our own groups.
Well, I think they're in the reptilian, shape-shifting, alien hybrid group.
Could be.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Are the neighborhoods in that group also that he spoke of?
Yes, you speak of
Yeah.
forbidden wealth, and we're the forbidden zone.
Exactly. Exactly.
Happy to go there.
Okay, let's get into it. So, okay, how can someone become, what do you call it? Fabulously forbidden wealth and power seekers. Tell us what you know, Jessica. We want to know this information.
Okay, I'll give you one, for instance, that I think is really good, and that's the Battle of Waterloo.
Okay.
The grandfather Rothschild had 5 sons.
Yeah.
He sent one to each capital of in Europe, one to England, one to France, one stayed in Germany.
Yeah.
The one in France paid for the war in France.
Okay.
He paid for Napoleon's war.
Yeah.
And the one in England paid for Wellington's war, the English side of the war.
Yeah, they financed both sides of that war.
Clever, huh?
I'm not sure. Well, here's what I heard about that battle, too, is that the British Rothschild had a spy overlooking the battlefield.
They both had spies on the battlefield, and they were both welcome on the battlefield. And they rode off the battlefield periodically to say who was winning. And they rode off when the English looked like they were winning. They rode off, they got down to Calais, jumped on a boat, went to England, told Nathan. Nathan went to the stock exchange, studied motionlessly at his pillar, gave the nod to his boys to sell all the bonds, spread the rumor that the French were winning. They dumped all their bonds along with everybody else, and just before the information came in, bought them all up.
Yeah, so they bought everything cheap, and then they basically took over the British economy from that point forward.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, it is great if you're a Rothschild.
Yeah,
But that's what I know, and that's what you're here to tell us today, right?
Well, they say no inside information,
Yeah.
but isn't it the same thing when somebody's involved in developing legislation and they pick up that telephone and they say, hey, this is coming down the tubes today. So maybe it's pharmaceuticals. Buy some. It's going to be hot. The government have just said this is a drug that's going to be on the market. What's the difference? So why shouldn't the ordinary man in the street know how to do that? And why should it be a bad thing to know how to do that when people are already doing it? We're just not getting the benefit.
Okay, so what do you do? Do you teach people how to do this?
Yes.
How?
How? Well, if you're the third man on a wheel and you have competitors, the guy who sat in this chair before me could be considered a competitor, and you announce somebody else coming up, he could be considered a competitor. How about if I could get those two to fight, and I could come up the middle and take what they have while they're busy fighting? Would that be a tactic? Would
It's a tactic.
Would it work?
You know what?
It might.
It reminds me though, but okay, this is going to be like, this is philosophical.
Okay.
discussion here, okay?
All right.
Because I do want to support your business and everything, but you know, I remember like game theory, right? You can, in a game theory situation, you can set it up so that everybody wins.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins.
Everybody can't win. That's so schoolboy.
Okay, hang on.
Come on.
Let me just finish. Let me finish my my point.
That's like people, they put their kid out there on the playing field and they say, go play and have fun, sweetie. Sweetie grows up and he doesn't know how to play in the real world. He thinks it's fun. That's not how it works. It works.
Well, it's interesting. I'll share my story. I was doing this in a university exercise, and yeah, everybody could win. But I said, you know, it was just for fun. I said in my group, because it was group against group, let's screw the other groups, and we'll win relative to them. Like our score will be better than them. We could all have a higher score, but let's not care about that. Let's have a higher score and let's screw those other groups in the game theory, right? And that's kind of, seems to me, that's kind of what you're saying.
But that's business. That's business. If you want to get out there and play with the big boys,
yeah,
you better know how to play.
Yeah. Hilton, what do you think about that?
Every game has its rules. And business, you know, the rule of business as we know it today has its rules.
Is that why they're out demonstrating and take over Toronto or whatever it is?
Absolutely.
Because what? Because they played by the rules?
Because they're saying the rules don't include them.
Yes, and I want the rules to, and exactly, I want the rules to include me.
Right.
I want to play by the rules that work, not by the rules that they say I should play by and lose. I want their rules so I can win. I want to be in that room where they make the legislation.
Okay.
And I can use the inside information to buy the stocks and bonds or whatever.
If everybody did that, then we would live in a world where everyone could be winning and collaborating, not just competing.
Not everybody would, though.
There are people that choose not to, for the people that want to not match and not join.
You do whatever
The
you want to do.
contrarians.
But I want everybody to do whatever they want to do.
Okay.
If it's okay for some,
Yeah.
it's okay for me. That's
Right.
what I want. Is
All
that
right.
fair?
Yes. So, what is it that you specifically teach? How do you do that? How do you bring about this, wealthy, for
Well,
individuals that want to learn?
There is a fairy tale that goes, if you work hard, you'll reap the benefits. That's not true. If you work smart and surround yourself with smarter people, you'll reap the benefits.
All right.
That's the only way you will reap the benefits. And all this baloney about working at home and
So how are you working smart?
I'm teaching this.
All right. And smart people around you?
I have smart people around me every day. I try not to indulge in what might be called, I said might be called, dumb people.
Now, how do you teach this? Do you teach this to individuals, or do you teach in groups?
I do it several ways. I teach it to individuals. I give 10 sessions, 10, 15-minute sessions. I also do it over Skype and on the internet. And I want to do an internet show. Maybe this will work out for me here today.
Well, I think it's working out already, because I'm certainly enjoying this conversation. But I want to know how you got to do this. You must have learned some lessons along the way, and how did you come to be, sharing this knowledge with people?
Well, life doesn't necessarily teach you all the lessons. You don't have to fall down and get a black eye. You have right there in front of you that piece that says most CFOs don't have MBAs. So I went on to Harvard to see was that true onto their network, and that is absolutely true. And they're trying to make excuses for their MBAs not making the best CEOs. So there had to be something else. There has to be something else. And then when you see what's happening in the States, that's the greatest country in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're going down the tubes.
No. Okay. Why?
Why are they going to? Because the average person didn't stay aware. If the average person was aware, some of those people wouldn't have even gotten into office. They would have listened.
Hey, but it's. I mean, if Well, we got the same problem here in Canada. Yeah, we might not have somebody as bad as George Bush or whatever, but still we got a government that's not really serving us.
Yeah, but
is it our fault?
Yeah, but supposing you could look at Bill Clinton, you could go back in time and you could look at Bill Clinton and you could say, Bill Clinton deregulated the markets. So if you were smart enough, you would have watched Bill Clinton and what he was doing, and you would have said, how can I use that to my advantage? A whole bunch of other people are going to anyway.
Yeah. Even if other people are complaining that it's the wrong strategy to do, you could instead and look at it as an advantage. Well, it might not be good for the country, but I can take advantage of this situation.
Well, if there's people who are supposed to be leading you are taking the advantage, why not follow the leader?
Okay. Do you see something right now? Is there a something you're seeing right now, something that's happening that you see as a big advantage that people could take?
Well, there's chaos. Chaos is always an advantage.
Yeah.
Anytime you see chaos, you know something else is coming down. We should have known there was something else coming down when they went into Iraq. We should have known there was something bigger. And that was the destroying of Europe. They destroyed Europe. I'm a European. They destroyed those countries.
Who destroyed Europe?
The bad paper. Wherever that bad paper came from, and we know that a lot of it came from the States. Yeah. They destroyed Europe. They took it to the cleaners. Well, if they're going to take it to the cleaners anyway, why can't I be part of that?
Yeah.
And it seems to be, people talk about ethics, but what does that really mean? You get punished for doing the wrong thing after you're a billionaire?
Well, what do you call ethics?
What do I call ethics? Yeah. I think ethics are, you think about what you're going to do, you think about all sides of how you can win, how you can lose on it.
Yeah.
And if it's good for you and you don't mind the losses, that's the way you'll go. That's how ethical, in my mind, people are. People are self-righteous. They try and bully you into corners. But if you won't go, you'll win.
Have you ever lost?
Of course.
What was that like for you? And how did that affect you?
I would think to myself, when I do what you call losing, I don't ever lose, really. I correct that. Because when I do what people call lose, I figure, how can I use that to my advantage? How can I use that in the future? And what did I learn from that?
So, friends, can you give us an example?
Give you an example?
Please.
Okay. I have to be careful which example I give you here.
No, nonsense.
Yeah, because I want to make.
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, but I want to make a lot of money off one of them. I'm coming back, baby. Please remember me. I always go back. Because people say, oh, never go back. No, never go back as to live the pain. Go forward to gain what is rightfully yours from the pain. That's all there is, and that's all the Rothschilds really did. That's all anybody really does who wins, as you call it.
So what was the pain the Rothschilds had that allowed them to gain as much as they did?
They were Jewish.
Yes.
They lived in Germany. The Jews were persecuted at that time. We were all persecuted, but they used it to their advantage. And it's a great advantage. It's still a great advantage today. I'm not.
People can use anything.
Make lemonade.
There you go.
Okay. All right, Jessica. Great to have you on the show. Now, if people want to take advantage of what you can do for them, how can they get in touch with you?
Get in touch with me through my email. forbiddenwealth.power@hotmail.com.
forbiddenwealth.power@hotmail.com?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And yeah, I think you should have a show. You can come back here to that channel every week.
That's a good idea.
Okay, good. Well, thanks for coming in today, and look forward to finding out more.
What are you looking forward to?
Finding out more.
Great.
forbiddenwealth.power@hotmail.com. Thank you. So I guess that's the show today, Hilton.
Yes.
We better get off the air
I think so.
because Wendy
We're
Ladd
really getting into trouble. Yeah.
is waiting around to come on. So we're going to get off the air. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow at noon for more Liquid Lunch right here on thatchannel.com. Stay tuned, Wendy Ladd coming up.
I should have showed you my book. That's the other side.
Oh, there's the book, man.
Eating cold days, destruction had begun. Smart from the start, and that's what went wrong. Humans left the jungle where they belong. Stripping earth of her natural beauty, destroying her land, taking oil so cruelly. Sunshine down, burning holes in her face, making her less pretty to those creatures she created. With less oil, she could not protect her skin. She looked mid-trillions, wrinkled and thin. Water was near gone, and all the creatures missed the taste of eternal bliss. With the lemons connected land and sky, the clouds were carrying water for this reason why. Rain poured down for many long years. Nature celebrated these happy rain tears. Creatures realized in peace they could live. They all found in life an eternal gift. New trees grew around the world in days. Grass was so lush with healthy sun rays. Smells from the flowers made insects dance. Earth saw a life of new balance. Earth is living too, it is true. Remember, she is breathing just like you. Sun shines down, singing all the while. Start your day with a song and a solar sky.
It's time to understand the plan. Music of a global band, a wounded habitat.